Welcome to the Joy Show. I'm Barbara Jean. Happy International Women's Day. Well, what a day to celebrate and to be here. The Joy Show is really about honoring the individuality of each person. So we are here to express, to enjoy, and to share the beauty of just one you. And today we have a remarkable guest. Now, I normally would start with a land acknowledgement and a biography. And well, it just turns out I'm at a Women's Day event and I left all of that stuff at home because I wasn't planning on doing the show out and about, but here I am. So I'll just acknowledge that I am on the land of, which is Toronto, which is the original land of the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. And it is my privilege and my honor to be here, to share this land equitably, beautifully, lovingly, and to honor all the people who reside on this land. Well, my guest today is Lara Brzezinski, and she is a powerhouse woman, raising a family, doing remarkable work. She's done a little bit of everything, like many women today. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. She's run a restaurant. She's looked after children. She's raised two of her own, which she's still raising with her lovely husband. And life is a blessing. So please, big hand for Lara Brzezinski. Laura, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you're here and that you could join us today. And, today is International Women's Day. So, on that note, what piece of advice would you like every woman to know?
Oh, I hadn't prepared for that one. But what we talked about earlier is that, oh, look at that. Yeah, I'm just looking
Fancy.
at the fancy,
Fancy.
that we are our own. How did I phrase it earlier? Well, just like you said, there's just one you. There is only each one of us. And we have to recognize that we are the most valuable person in our own lives. And the challenge that many of us, the trap that we fall into is thinking that we have to take care of everyone else and then take care of ourselves. And I'm on a mission to educate primarily women, but anyone else who needs to hear this. You have to take care of yourself first, and then you have the energy, the patience, right? The full cognition to be able to support everyone else in your world.
That's so important because I think sometimes we forget you can't give what you don't have.
Mm.
And of course, if we have kind of not looked after ourselves, well, then we're exhausted, we're worn out, and we can't show up as the best self that we are. So
Mhm.
thank you for that. So here on International Women's Day, I've been at a whole day event here, which has been spectacular. It's been wonderful. The men of PWA have put it on and provided food and entertainment. It's been frankly brilliant. But what I love the most is all the women who've gathered. And this week, I went to an event on Sunday or Monday rather, 600 women in the room.
Wow.
600 women. I haven't seen that many women in one place since before COVID. So,
Yeah.
so really grateful to have all these women. And now you've done a lot of different things in your life. And you're in the process of really inspiring women with your coaching and stuff. So tell us a little bit about how you work and what it is that your wish is for the women that you work with.
Uh, well, this really grew out of my own awareness that I was so focused on being a great mom and partner and having a full-time job, juggling a lot of things, that I wasn't putting myself first,
Right.
and sometimes was tired or frustrated. I also discovered that I was using some coping mechanisms when I got run down, instead of recognizing I need to fill myself back up. I need to fill my cup. It was Lisa Nichols that first introduced to me the concept of giving from your saucer. So, meaning when your cup is full and flowing over,
The overflow.
full, and you can give. And that really started me onto this journey of like, well, what does it mean? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And so now that's my mission, is to help other people, other women, have that awareness of, are you taking care of yourself first? Because then, and not the other way around. Oh, when I have time, right? Feed
Yeah.
my kids first, and then maybe I'll feed me. And and really, it's so interesting to witness when we each recognize, wait a second, I have more energy to go play with my kids when I make sure that I eat with them. I have the patience when they're having a meltdown that I don't have a meltdown too, because I got enough rest, right? All of this, it just up levels the whole environment that someone's in when you're rested and you're getting exercise, so you're strong and you can last, longer than your kids. All of that, it's just that compound and that ripple effect.
Yeah, it's so important. And I love the idea of, making sure that you can eat with your children, right? Like that's a great concept, to be
Right.
able to sit down together and share a meal. That, maybe even so let's talk about parenting, because I know for a lot of women, balancing work, family, especially raising our kids and trying to work and look after our husbands and everything else that we're doing, there can be such a challenge in being the best mom that we can be. And I'm wondering if you have any parenting tips about how we can rear powerful, positive, productive youth.
And I was chatting with my mom about this earlier. And not just that, but caring and kind kids who grow
Yeah.
up to be contributing members of society, right? Adding
Yes.
that on too.
Yeah.
And she raised us and shared this book with me called Children the Challenge. And then I was introduced to another philosophy. It's a book, and they had classes that I was fortunate to stumble into, uh, called Parenting with Love and Logic. And the
Mm.
concept is, those little people, they're not toys, they're not without brains, right? that
Yeah.
that they can think, they want to choose, and we want to empower them. And so, right from, yes, we talk in the little baby voices when they're little, but when they can start to make their own decisions, you offer choices and empower them. And the most important being, make sure those choices work for you as the mom. Like, do you want to wear the red shirt or the yellow shirt, right?
Yeah.
And then adding on responsibility and giving them that self confidence and that self awareness of, I wow, I matter, and I can think for myself, and wow, I can take care of myself.
Yeah.
And all of these things build on that, and it starts with respecting them. And I just
Yes.
loved that, is respect that they are going to grow up and be their own individual. How can I empower them to be the best version of themselves for themselves, not what I think they should be, but give them the tools to figure it out for themselves, make their own decisions.
That's such an important message. And I know that Khalil Gibran wrote
Mm,
about children and how they come through us, but they're not ours. They
yes.
belong to life. And I
Yes.
think that's such a powerful message, that our children come in unique and special, just like we did, and they're fully equipped for their life.
Yes.
And we as parents need to give them space to find what that life is and to live it. So good for you. You got great information. I read a book when my youngest son was about, 12 or 13, and I was having some challenges. uh, with him. And the book was called Kids Are Worth It by
Oh,
Barbara
Pete.
Coloroso. And when she wrote it, I believe she had teenagers when she wrote it. But it was really powerful because it talked about number one, you're a family. So she said in there, she said, I don't pay my family to clean the house. We clean the house because we all live here. So we
Yes.
share. So we would have family meetings, which was something she suggested. I was a single mom. My daughter had already left home, but my two boys were at home, teenagers. And what I realized was that yes, you pay an allowance, but that's for them to learn how to manage finances. So I would give them an allowance on Monday, which means they've got to save it till Friday because I'm not a bank and I don't loan money. So you got to wait until next Monday before I give you more, right? So
Right.
there was that. And then when it came to household chores, we would have a meeting and we go, here's the list of things that need to be done. Who's going to do what over the next 2 weeks? And we would set a schedule and we put timelines on those schedules so that if for any reason, like let's say Saturday morning is typical house cleaning morning, which for many of us it is, then they couldn't go anywhere until they'd done whatever their responsibility was. If it's to do the bathroom, you do the bathroom, then you can go out with your friends, but not before. And the other one was natural, reasonable consequences.
Yes.
So we had a few rules, and my son went and broke one of them by lying to me. Probably not the first teenager to do that, but anyway, uh, he lied to me. And so it took me a minute to go, okay, what do I do with this? And what I realized was I no longer trusted him.
Mm.
So I came back and I said, okay, here's the result. I don't trust you. And because I don't trust you, there's going to be something you want to do sometime in the near future. And I want you to remember this conversation because I don't trust you. And if it requires trust, you're not going to be able to do it. Because why? Because I don't trust you right now. And so he's like, woo, yay, got away with it, right? That was his initial response. But 2 weeks later, he wanted to go to a rave. He was 14. Now, I don't really care what age he was, I wouldn't have let him go. But I'm doing dishes. He comes in, he goes, hey, I want to go to this rave. I went, yeah, that would require trust. And I just keep washing the dishes. He threw a chair. He cursed me out with language I can't use here. Went in his room, slammed the door, and I just kept doing dishes, didn't say a word. He came back 10 minutes later in tears, going, what will it take for me to rebuild trust? And I said, you have to tell me the truth all the time.
Mm.
All the time. Not when it's convenient, all the time. And he said, okay. And our relationship from there grew in ways that were beyond my imagination at the time because I was ready to run away from home because I was
Right.
having so many challenges and I didn't know what to do. But in the moment that I made them responsible for their actions, they showed up in remarkable ways.
I will say, there's two things that just popped in my head from Parenting with Love and Logic. And the first, I first was introduced to it in Salt Lake City, and then Robert and I moved to the Denver area, and
Yeah.
Reverend Barry Ebert was teaching, and he said, parenting is the self-development class you didn't know you signed up for. And
That's the truth.
right. And then the second one was about that we have to, as parents, detach from the emotion of what's going on. And I will
Yes.
say that's where I really struggled to not get
Yeah.
upset over something
Yeah.
that happened and to be
Yeah.
able to put the responsibility of the outcome on them. And so I
Yeah.
applaud you because that is so hard.
It is
And
hard.
and I will share a funny one. I am still finding that I sometimes am attached to how things are supposed to look. And we recently, a year ago, moved into a new house, and the older sibling is in college. And we didn't sit down and have a family discussion about chores, each person's responsibility in this new house. And so
Yeah.
I carried from the old house and from a year before when the kids were a different age, here's what the chores are and here's how and who does what. And my youngest decided they didn't like that one chore. And we didn't sit down and have a family discussion of, well, here's the chores that need to be done. What ones would you rather do?
Yeah.
And so we were butting heads until I had a very wise outside witness suggest maybe you could trade. And I went, that chore that I want you to do, I actually don't mind doing, but it takes time. And so we were able to trade a chore. And it reminded me, my kids are teenagers, and I'm the one that's still learning how to parent.
Well, and it's interesting because when I was studying for ministry, that's when my boys were teenagers, and I had everybody in my ministerial class praying for my son. And one day I woke up and went, could have had a V8.
Right.
I'm the one that needs to change. I'm the problem here. The way I parent doesn't work for him. And it actually probably didn't work for the other two either, but
Right.
it was really obvious for him. And I had to do it differently. So it wasn't about him at all. And then I found the book, and from there everything just spiraled. So it's amazing how we can find our way. But I love what you said, who knew that having children was our personal development work.
Well, and I will say that goes back to a fundamental principle in life. Whatever is happening out there, whatever somebody is doing to you, what is your
In
role?
you.
Right. What in you is responding to that, or in some cases, reacting? And so, how can
Exactly.
we adjust ourselves first in the situation? Again, going
Exactly
back
right.
to my new awareness, I have to take care of myself first.
Yeah.
Then I
Yeah.
can take care of you. I have to accept responsibility for myself in this relationship that we're having. Even if you lied to me, again, you had to have the awareness of, wow, I don't trust you anymore. And so now putting it back on them, but you had to figure that out for yourself. And I am
Yeah.
still figuring that out with my two teenagers, one in college, one in, high school, still living
Yeah.
at home. And
Yeah.
they're two very different kids. And so,
Of course
yes,
they
we
are.
have to communicate differently with the one that still lives at home.
Well, and it's an interesting journey with parenting because our children mean so much to us. Like, we're so invested in them being successful
Yes.
that we get in the way of the very thing we're invested in, their success.
They're successful.
Because we think we know what their success should look like. Nobody told us. We don't have a clue. Hi, Fiona.
Hello, Fiona. We love you.
Yeah, another parent. Yes, another
Yep.
woman, another parent. Yeah. The interesting thing that I found when I knew that I had to parent differently was something would happen and I couldn't think fast enough to go, what's natural or
Mm.
what's reasonable in this situation. So I would just say to my kids, okay, I'm really angry at the moment and I don't want to dump that on you. So I'm going to go away and deal with what I'm feeling. And I'm going to think about what a natural or reasonable consequence would be for this. And I will be back to you within the hour. I always gave them a time. And then I'd go to my room and go, I have no idea what to do.
Well, and that was something that neither Robert or I learned very well. It was in the teaching, it was in the curriculum, but we didn't really get that. And I wish that I had done a better job
Well, you've got it
because,
now.
yeah,
Yes.
we know now. I'm reminded now because in that moment, it does two fabulous things, and this is what Reverend Barry would talk about, is that it gives you time to calm down and think. Because
Yeah.
when our emotions are high, we don't always think clearly. And sometimes we react instead of responding.
Often.
And
Yeah.
quite often, then the kid starts panicking, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And they start worrying. And then they might be more receptive to your suggestion when you come back to them.
Well, that's what I found is by giving them a timeline, it cut down on that worry element. Like, what is she going to do? Because especially in the beginning, they didn't know what natural, reasonable consequences looked like. They were
Right.
accustomed to me just yelling, going,
Right.
"Go in there, clean that bathroom. You said you would. Now go do it." But that
I
didn't
can
work.
relate.
So yeah, so I just tied it around their allowance where I would sit back and say, if I have to give you a reminder, that takes time and my time is valuable. So if I have to remind you about anything, then that's going to cost you 25 cents. And I kept a ledger in my office and I would mark down 25 cents, reminded ride to do dishes. And then when allowance would come around, he'd get 50 cents because he got all these reminders. My son Curtis was a little more, he liked his money a lot. So the very first week we did this, I believe I had to give him one reminder. So I removed 25 cents from his from his allowance, and he was furious that I did. I said, well, in future, when what needs to be done and when, so just do it. He never missed a chore after that.
That's wonderful. I think I need to get better at that.
Well, my other son would get a very small allowance.
Right. Everyone has different motivators. Again, we have to figure out, okay, how do they tick and how can I meet them where
Where
they're
they're
at
at.
with the
Yeah.
right motivators, the right consequences, the right. This brings to mind, and I haven't figured out how to put this in parenting terms, but I love the expression, fences make good neighbors, because
Mm,
everybody is quite clear on what that boundary is when there is a physical fence. And so,
exactly.
how do we create those safe boundaries for our kids at the different ages, and then support them in staying in them, or letting us know when it's time, hey, we can expand those boundaries,
Yeah.
but being clear on what they are, that still serves and supports the parent in trusting our kids, feeling, knowing they're safe, and the kids being trustworthy and safe and taking care of themselves.
Yeah. And I think that, trust is a big one because if we trust them to make decisions for themselves, to choose their own clothing,
Mhm.
to do their homework. I remember with my youngest, because I was pretty good with her, but I still would get on her about homework. And I stopped doing that, I think when she was in grade 9. And she went from being an average student to being an honor student.
Wow.
Huh. I no longer asked, did you do your homework? I just went, you know what? You're going to pass or you're not, and it's none of my business, and I'm just going to let it go. And she ended up finishing with honors in both French and English. And it's like, I don't even know how that happened, but she's brilliant and creative and she just did it. And I'm like, wow, because I just stopped.
Right.
I stopped doing two things. One is you got to get ready for school. You got to get ready for school. You're going to be late. That was one that I would do all the time. And then the other one was, have you done your homework yet? You got to turn off the TV. No, no, no. I like the TV on while I'm doing homework. And I'm like, how can you do that? But
Right.
we're all different, right? We all have different ways of doing it. So we have to trust them that they know what they need.
Yes.
My brother taught me that. So my brother, um, prior to marrying the lovely wife that he has, he had two daughters, twin girls, and one of them severely autistic. And so Sarah, I was over visiting one day and Sarah wanted to go outside, and it's Calgary. The weather was kind of like Denver, it was like, I don't know, probably about -20 that day. And she wanted to go out and play in the backyard. And so he's trying to put her coat on. And she's like, no, and pushing him away. And he's like, fine. He opens the door and lets her go out. And I went, what are you doing? And he goes, she's not stupid. And I went, oh, of course. So she went outside, realized it was cold, came back in and put her coat on.
Right.
And I'm like, how did you get so smart? Me as a mom, I'm wrestling my kids to get their coat on so they don't get cold. And he's just going, yeah, okay, here you go.
Right.
There's so much we can learn from each other. But
Yes.
it's just being smart enough to realize our children know when they're cold. They know when they're hungry. And can we give them space to just be who they are and let them grow?
I grew up with a definition in my head. It wasn't really what my parents intended, about making mistakes and failing, because my goal was to not make mistakes and not fail. And unfortunately, I made the decision of, well, if I don't try, then I won't fail. But
there's probably a lot of people who've done that.
What they meant was, give it your best effort, like, try to. And so I came across a way to look at failing when I was older as your first attempt in learning. Yes. And it was actually, I was so thankful. Reed was entering 6th grade when we were in Olympia, Washington, and they followed as a school the principles and the practices of Dr. Carol Dweck, who wrote the book Mindset. And that was the first time I was introduced to the fact that there was a fixed mindset and there was a growth mindset. And I think it was Simon Sinek who said, when she talks about it, and her belief is that you can fix the fixed mindset by teaching people how to have a growth mindset. And it was there, they said, we want them to fail. And I was like, whoop. And they said, we want them to fail fast and we want them to fail often, because then they learn how to adjust. Okay, this didn't work. It's like I had to educate myself on what failing meant. I had a very limited definition. It was, no, make a mistake and then analyze what happened. How did that go? Did it work for me? Did it not? Okay, make adjustments, because they had the container. It's safe to fail. It's safe to make mistakes. Powerful. And you're not going to be penalized. You're going to be supported in learning and growing through making that mistake. But if you don't try, you won't know if you can do it. You won't know how well you can do it. You won't know how to make adjustments. And so that was a huge shift for me. And I was very grateful that, thank you, Reed, for going to that school that educated me personally and as a mom to support them and just, do your best, and then we'll figure out, did it work for you or not?
That's powerful, because it gives them the ability to realize failure doesn't define them. It's just a mere opportunity. We're going to go on a commercial break. You're watching The Joy Show. My guest is Lara Brzezinski, and you're watching the New Thought Media Network, and we're going to be back right after this. Don't go away.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
And we're back. We're back. So we've just been talking about empowering our children to be the best that they can be by teaching them it's okay to fail.
Yeah, love that. I wanted a quick jump topic, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to my husband, Reverend Robert Brzezinski, because that first commercial was his voice, and I just love it. And it is so beautiful to see how this platform, New Thought Media Network, has grown. We're going on 4 years from when he took it from here to let's create it, and to see all of these different communities that are coming together to share this message about joy, about community, about helping each other. You talked about, we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
And this platform does that by bringing on so many different people, sharing their passions, their joy, their gifts, and uplifting others. And so I had a smile on my face. So I was listening to his voice. and then I started dancing to Karen Drucker, change the way you look at things, things you look at change. I love it.
This is such a great platform for the work that we do. Like, he has provided something that's of great value to so many people. Like, we have prayers online. We talk about grief online. We have our good news Friday nights. We've got all this great stuff here. And I think, the more people know about it, the better, because we get to share such great messages in a way that's powerful, positive, and productive.
Yes. I love that.
I like it. So what's your big dream? Do you have a big dream for your life?
Robert and I have been talking about laptops on the beaches of Fiji for years. And it was really about having businesses that served our soul, that we would want to do when we were on vacation, and to be able to bring whatever that was to and work on it together, but to just do it from wherever. And so my big dream is just to continue to share my message of helping people to prioritize themselves, their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, all of it, recognizing that it's that ripple effect. And if you can see, I have some blue in my hair. And when I first embarked on the journey of putting color in my hair, it was because our kids were doing it. Yeah. And it was like, oh, well, we'll color yours. And Robert and I, we both did ours, and it was bright and crazy. And it was interesting, the reaction in myself of like, I don't know how I feel about that. And I went through this process of, okay, what do I think of myself? And then I played around with different colors, and I got to this point where I'm at now, then I look in the mirror and I see this color in my hair and it makes me smile.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I am all about joy. I am about creating joy in my life, and I do silly things throughout the day to make myself laugh. And this is one. And then in the process of going, oh, this is fun, I realize it brings other people joy,
It
because
does.
I'll have people stop me with a smile on their face and say, I love your hair. And
Yeah.
so we just created this connection that even if it's fleeting, that human to human, I see you
I see
and
you.
I acknowledge you. And so we just have this little giggle, laugh, or I see someone else and we that has colored hair and we both honor, yeah, you colored yours. And so I recognize, wow, I didn't realize that something as silly as coloring my hair could have such a profound effect, human to human, that
Yeah.
I'm creating these moments. And we are one human family. We have one home. We haven't figured out how to live anywhere else yet. And so I'm just realizing that's my ripple of bringing joy for a spark in
Yeah.
someone else's world for a moment. But it's serving me, because when they smile at me, I smile. And so it uplifts me. And so it's been really fun. And so that has been my, my new mantle is like, I love bringing joy. And I love, Wayne says, scatter joy from Emerson. I hadn't heard that. So thank you, Wayne. But yeah, I am all about scattering and splattering and sharing. I think I even have one in my pocket. So I have these little plastic, if you can see it with my silly background, the word joy, it's yellow, and I
Yeah.
carry them in my pocket. And when somebody makes me smile, then I'll pull it out and say, hey, thank you for sharing your joy. I'm going to share mine. And
Nice. I like that. I like that.
and so yeah, so that's my big vision, is
Ah,
wherever, whenever, create joy in little ways. And then Robert and I find ways to do stuff together to create a joyful life for both of us. And it keeps shifting and changing and growing. But yeah, just keep creating joy in your life.
I
Uh,
love it.
one last thing I want to say. So my mom is by herself now.
Hmm.
And when she has moments of feeling a little bit lonely,
Yeah.
she and my dad had the most amazing life and took trips and did these, when we were kids, lots of activities. I got to camp and ski, and I saw the Grand Canyon and the Tetons. I got to go backpack in Alaska, all of these. And then when the kids weren't around, they went on these really fun adventures for themselves. And so now, as mom's here, she doesn't have as much energy as she used to. And so she'll sit and just think about the amazing adventures she and my dad went on. And she's got pictures to
Nice.
remind her, and she's got videos. And I just think, like,
Oh,
wow. So that's my goal, is I want to continue to create fun adventures so that when I'm a little tired and I have to sit, that I have these amazing memories to look
nice.
back on with
Oh, I
Robert,
love
with
it.
my kids, and with whoever comes into my world.
Ah, I love that. I love that. I think that's one of the things that I'm really enjoying with the indigenous African work that I'm learning about, the
Mhm.
African traditions, in because relationship is the most important thing. With the tribes, with family, it's like everybody's connected. It isn't like us here in North America where, we have two people living in a ginormous house.
Mhm.
In Africa, they're going to live in communities. So
Yes.
you might have many families together. And one of the things that I experienced when I was in Kenya, one of the women that I met talked about the fact that she was in a marriage where her husband was going to take a second wife. And we talked about how she was okay with that and why she was okay with that. And which is a very different concept than what I have been raised with. But what I realized was for her, this was adding to her life. And that was fascinating to learn because I've always looked at, a man who wants a second wife as like, why would you do that?
Right.
And why would she be okay with it? But it was so wonderful to hear this woman's perspective and how she views this woman as her sister, which ultimately she is, but also that this means there are times when she'll have less work to do,
Yes.
right? Like she's looking at the pluses. Me as a North American woman, that never entered my mind. Right? But I'm listening to her and I'm going, oh, you've thought this through. Had a really good conversation with her husband about it, with the imam about it, and just, coming to an understanding. And I'm like, wow, I don't know that I could get there,
Right.
but I really could see the value of it in talking to her. It made sense. So there's many different ways to live, and the best thing we can do is honor each other's journey as individual,
Right.
and as, what's right for me won't necessarily be right for you, but to honor that whatever's right for you is right for you. So why would I negate that?
And yes, I recognize that when the conversations were coming up when we were there, I was like, wait, what? That's still happening?
Yeah,
Because of my perspective, my upbringing, our
exactly.
culture here in the United States is this. And so
Yes.
my first response was a reaction that
Yeah.
was, that doesn't fit, right, in my definition. But as you just explained, there's
Yeah,
different perspectives.
there is.
And when we can put ours aside and be open to say, wow. And
Yes.
then we each get to choose. We get to bring our choice to the table and say, it
Yeah.
might take me a while to get there. I don't know that I want to get there. And I can respect that that works for you.
Well, and I think that for me was the big thing is, I had the opportunity to learn a different perspective. And like you say, it might not be right for me, but it was definitely right for her. And it was so beautiful the way she spoke about it and the experience that she was having and how conscious she was about the love that her husband has for her. It's not about that. And just this whole experience of seeing something that I personally could never comprehend prior to that conversation. But after talking to her, I thought, wow, that really does make sense. Surprise, surprise. There's other ways. There's so many ways to be a woman. There's so many ways to be a human, and all of it is fine. It's just figuring out what works for us individually, and then being willing to stand in that.
And you will hear, I love parenting with love and logic, but another philosophy that is highly encouraged is teaching your kids, if you create a problem, find a way to solve the problem that doesn't create a problem for anyone else on the planet. And so what I just heard there was you not imposing each other's views on someone else if it doesn't work. Don't create a problem for the other person.
Yeah.
Be open and allow whatever culture you're in to, like, oh, that's part of your culture and you like that, agree with that, you know it works for you. How amazing. And we get to expand when we can listen and take in, and just right without judgment, without anybody, nobody's right or wrong. It's different perspectives, it's different backgrounds. And I just love that, without creating a problem for anyone else,
Yeah.
right? You can have yours and I can have mine, as long as, nobody's killing each other here. So we're all good.
And I think that's really, I think what I love about women, and what I love as we honor women this week with International Women's Week, is that we're honoring the fierceness, the creativity, the power of women to create, like to bring together. We as women bring together. And that
Yes.
for me is the big thing. So if we're going to create a new world, right, which we're kind of thinking about, how do we create a world that works for the highest and best good of all life everywhere? So that means the
Yes.
earth, that means the air, the water, the people, the animals, the insects, the all in the all, right? It has to work for all. And as we're doing that, I think women are best equipped because we naturally look for ways to include, and also we naturally look for solutions that are easy.
Mm-hmm. I have found a number of networking organizations that are only women, and it
Mhm.
is such an incredible, this one in particular, it's called Polka Dots Powerhouse. And when I
Mm.
first was introduced, I kind of went, polka dots, right? I brought my judgment to the pink and the polka dot
Yeah.
without understanding what was underneath. And it was founded by a woman who wanted collaboration.
Yes.
And having come from male orchestrated, dominated networking groups where it was exclusive, only one realtor, only one this, only one that. And it has to be, you have to have this many leads coming in. This other container is, we're about collaboration.
Yeah.
Every person, there's just one you, and you're going to bring you into whatever it is you do. So there isn't competition,
There is
because
not.
you're going to resonate with different people. And
Yep.
so there's such connection, there's respect, there's love. All we do is pick each other up, support each other, lock arms, link arms, help. And it's so fulfilling and rewarding that in the short period of time that I have been a member, I've had different people reach out and support me on so many different things, help collaborate and create something with me, trading services, trading time. It's,
Yeah.
wow, what a concept is that together we rise, right?
Together we rise. That, and that's the most important message of all. I went to an event on Monday morning at a town not far from here, and there were 600 women in the room. 600 women leaders supporting each other's
Yes.
businesses, supporting each other's passions, supporting each
Yes.
other, right? And the organization is called All Women Lead, and lead is LEAD, leverage, empowerment. mm, I can't remember the others, but it's like everything was about lifting women up and creating a space of, love and appreciation and respect, and just empowering women to be the best they can be. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that 600 women in one room.
Mm-hmm. And back to our original, when we each, male or female or non binary, however you identify, when we each are being the best that we can be, then it's
Yes.
a positive that is being rippled out. When
It
there's
is.
not, we're not against each other. Let's support each other, uplift each other. Right? It's powerful.
Well, it's so important because I think there's been that old thought of, catty women that were against each other. And I'm not sure who created that, but that's so counterintuitive to who we are and what we do, right? Yeah, this is the place, creating space for real, authentic, and vulnerable conversations. All women lead. Yeah, I
Beautiful.
love that. I love that. Um, yeah, that idea of really lifting each other up, because I remember even a television show that was on years ago. I can't remember the name of it, but the mother and the teenage daughter were kind of at each other. And I said to my husband, I said, I don't want our daughter watching this. I don't want her to see that as the way mothers and daughters should be relating to one another. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's necessary. And I don't think women should be like that with each other. And
Right.
so, even when I think back to this woman whose husband was going to take a second wife, I thought, good on you that you saw value, as but she stood up for herself, going, here's what I need, here's what this would have to look like, here's how it would need to be. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant, because if we start working together, we are the majority of the population, and yet in many ways we're still underpaid, under respected,
Undermined.
under, right? And it's going to take us collaborating together, working together. And when you and I were in Kenya, we saw women who'd started really remarkable businesses
Yes.
that were all about, creating partnerships and creating environmentally sound practices. That's what women do. I love
Mhm.
it.
And as Fiona shared, empowering women is empowering humanity, all of humanity.
Yes. Thank you, Fiona. You're the best. I'm on my phone, so it's sometimes hard to read the scroll. It's like I can't quite make it out. I need glasses or a bigger phone. Well, it's exciting to be able to have a conversation like this on International Women's Day, because I think as women, the more that we do for each other, with each other, the more we create a world that is positive and productive and powerful, but life affirming.
Yes.
I think that's the difference that women bring.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah. So as we're coming up to our last, 7 minutes, what is something that you would really like women, but people in general, to take away from our conversation today? What would be one of the most important things you think people should know?
There's just one you, and you have to take care of you first. And that's all areas of your existence, making
Yeah.
sure you're getting enough sleep, you're eating balanced healthy foods, you're exercising, you're filling your mind with positive self-talk, you're listening to positive encouraging songs, TV shows, podcasts, whatever it is, challenging yourself, and being in an environment of supportive people, right? If you have somebody that questions, why do you have blue in your hair, and starts to tell you you're wrong for having blue in your hair, it's probably not somebody that you want to hang around very much. Because the more that we support ourselves in that and taking care of ourselves, the more that we are able to serve. And the other piece of that is listening to our soul, listening to our heart.
Mm,
What would bring me joy today? Now we have to go do our jobs, right? We have to do the thing to make the money to pay the bills and all of that. And within that, how can I bring the best of me, myself? What are my strengths? What are my gifts? And how can I bring that to my job, to my relationship, to my parenting, to my friendship, to my community?
yeah.
And if you notice, all of this starts with turning within and starting to question, am I happy? Do I love myself? How do I feed my mind, my body? Am I taking care of myself? Do I love my job? Okay, if not, why not? Is it because I'm not really bringing the best of me, or is it because it's really not a good fit? And maybe it's time to go find something that's a better fit. So what would be a better fit, right? I love Robert. I don't know where he got it, but he is the one that reminds me often, the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of your questions. So if your life is not joy filled, and I don't mean 24/7, right? We have moments, we're human. But
Yep.
if you are not feeling full of joy, or that you can have joy, if life feels like a struggle, it's time to turn within and say, what's up? What's going on? There's just one me, and I am the only one that can fix what's going on. And I'm really the only one that's in here. Yes, we hear voices in our heads that we have carried forward. My parents' great advice, and then something that my parents said that I didn't like, but I'm still hearing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are the only ones that's really inside of our head. And if we don't like what we're telling ourselves, then start to question it.
Yeah.
And this applies to anyone, and it doesn't matter what age, whether you're a teenager and you're not happy about how you're showing up, whether you're in your 50s, whether in your 80s, right? Am I filled with joy? And the Buddhist philosophy is the goal, their enlightenment is peaceful mind and joyful heart. And I finally understood what peaceful mind meant, is when I go to bed, I can shut my mind off and sleep, right? That
Hallelujah.
peaceful mind is that I don't have a critic in there saying, why did you say that? Why did you do that? Why are you wearing that? Oh my gosh, look at my wrinkles, right? That peaceful mind is a quiet mind. It's a safe
Accepting mind.
mind.
Yeah.
I could keep going, but there you go.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. I love it so much. I think that's exactly what I would say as well, is that, that self-care and realizing you're the one thinking your thoughts, you're the one making your choices. Even if you think somebody's pressuring you, you decide to go along with them or not. And I love what Maya Angelou said, which is, when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Right.
So if you think you're going to fix somebody, the only person you can fix is the one inside here, right? You got to do your own work and look after your own self, and that's the most important thing of all. One of the things I taught my daughter when she was little, I never taught stranger danger. I didn't believe in that. What I taught her was trust your intuition. If it feels wrong, it probably is. Thank you so much for being here today, Lara. And thank you to Wayne and Fiona and anybody else who is in the house today or watches in the future. We're so grateful to each and every one of you. And today being International Women's Day, love up some woman that you know, some woman that you don't know appropriately. Like, smile at a stranger, tell a woman on the subway how beautiful she is, then walk away. Do it respectfully. Let people know how wonderful, magnificent, and beautiful they are. Lara, you are a beautiful example of a remarkable woman. And I'm so grateful to know you. And I'm so grateful that we got to meet in person in Kenya.
Yes.
And that was the best. And I'm not sure what Fiona just put in the chat. I didn't see.
That was Wayne. Pastel colors for you. And Fiona, the Joy Show radiates joy.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Deja. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Reverend Robert, for creating the New Thought Media
Yes.
Network. You're watching The Joy Show on the New Thought Media Network. We'll be back again next week, same time, same channel, and have a most amazing week. And if you're a woman in this world, just know that you're beautiful, fabulous, and remarkable. Great week, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.